Daniel Reeves sat on the narrow prison cot, the faint light from the barred window cutting across his rugged face. His stubble, graying hair at the edges, and tired eyes told a story of years weighed down by regret. For months, he had lived with the suffocating silence of accusations, the burden of a secret he could no longer carry alone. Each day passed with the same dull ache, a routine of hunger, fear, and reflection. The detective had returned, older, quieter than Daniel remembered, but with the same unwavering determination. She placed a thick envelope on the metal table between them. "We found it," she said simply, her eyes locking onto his. The letter inside detailed evidence from Elena, photographs, and witness testimonies long buried in forgotten files. The evidence painted a picture that Daniel had feared and yet hoped for. The truth could finally come out. Daniel's hands shook slightly as he turned the papers. The basement, the wrench, all the shadows of suspicion, now illuminated in cold, undeniable clarity. His steel-toe boots scraped softly against the concrete floor as he stood, pacing, replaying every memory. He remembered Maya's innocent laughter, Elena's quiet worry, the nights he spent pacing in the dim light of the basement, unsure what to do, trapped between fear and conscience. Meanwhile, Maya, now older, sat in her bedroom drawing what she had seen and remembered. The sketches told a story her young mind had struggled to understand. Stick figures depicted adults in arguments, the basement door, small hints of a wrench. Her curly hair was tied back neatly, and her eyes held that delicate mix of curiosity and anxiety that only a child could carry. But today, there was light streaming through the window, bathing the room in warmth, a subtle foreshadowing of hope. Elena, standing in the hallway of her modest home, finally exhaled. Boxes and packed bags indicated a life in transition, but the weight on her shoulders had lightened. She had kept records, letters, and photographs, evidence of the events that had haunted them all. Her brown shoulder-length hair caught the sunlight, her face pale yet resolute. She had waited for the right moment, and now the moment had arrived. Detectives moved carefully, gathering each piece of evidence in the basement. The original crime scene that had long been ignored. Fingerprints, photographs, and Elena's testimonies all aligned. Daniel's faded plaid shirt and worn jeans were present in memory only. He wasn't guilty of the suspected crimes, yet the town had branded him a killer. Now, the truth began to unravel the false accusations. Shadows in the basement grew less menacing, replaced with the quiet diligence of those committed to justice. Daniel knelt in the corner of his cell one last time, remembering the moments of fear and regret. Then he exhaled deeply, the burden of secrecy lifting slightly. Outside, Maya's sketches told the story she could never voice, connecting the past with the present, bridging the gap between innocence and revelation. She didn't fully understand the events yet, but she sensed the justice in motion. The detective and her team presented the evidence in court. Witnesses, including Elena, testified calmly but firmly. The photos, letters, and forensics were undeniable. Daniel Reeves, the rugged working-class man accused of a lifetime of horrors he did not commit, stood quietly, hands clasped, eyes steady for the first time in months. The jury deliberated. Hours later, the gavel struck. Not guilty. Daniel exhaled, the weight of false accusation lifting. Outside the courthouse, sunlight glinted off his steel-toe boots, his worn jeans, and his faded plaid shirt. Elena stepped out beside him, relief washing over her features. She had acted to protect her family and ensure truth and justice prevailed. Maya ran into Daniel's arms, the little girl who had witnessed so much and feared even more. He held her close, feeling the warmth of connection, trust, and the innocence of a family that had been tested but not broken. In the town, whispers of Daniel's innocence spread. Friends who had doubted approached cautiously, offering apologies and support. The basement, once a place of shadows and doubt, became a symbol of truth revealed, secrets confronted, and justice served. The wrench and fingerprints were cataloged, evidence preserved, not as accusations but as part of a story that had demanded attention. At home, the family reunited. Elena, Maya, and Daniel shared a quiet evening. The sun set, painting the sky with shades of hope. Daniel's rugged face softened, stubble catching the light, brown hair graying at the edges, tired eyes finally resting. Maya laughed, her innocence restored, a gentle echo of resilience. Elena smiled, the burden of secrecy lifted, her shoulder-length brown hair shining in the fading sun. They were no longer defined by shadows of suspicion, but by the strength of truth and the bonds of family. Justice had not been swift, and the path had been painful, but in the end, truth prevailed. Daniel Reeves, the man who had carried guilt he did not deserve, now walked free. Shadows remained, as they always do, but in them were no lies, only memory, learning, and the promise of a brighter tomorrow. The basement remained quiet, preserved as a testament, a place where secrets were confronted, truth revealed, and justice served. The small town learned that appearances could deceive, but integrity and perseverance could illuminate even the darkest corners. Daniel Reeves looked at his family, at Elena, and at Maya, knowing that life would continue, honest and unbroken. And for the first time in years, he smiled not out of relief alone, but out of the unshakable knowledge that the story, finally, had a just ending.